All right, so I'm here today with my boss, believe it or not, Nick Ackels. Appreciate you coming on here and doing this with me.
Hey, good to be here, Biggs.
Yes, absolutely, Biggs. That's my nickname in the office because I always have a big bag of sunflower seeds that I go through in like a week while I'm ripping calls in the afternoon. Biggs, either dill pickle, taco, Stubbs barbecue sauce, you know.
3 that I had never seen before until Biggs came around.
Hey, 7-Eleven, it's always open. You know, they've got all the variety for sunflower seeds. But no, this is awesome. I really appreciate you coming out here. This is by far the best backdrop I've ever had. Like, literally right on AT&T Stadium's field. Like, this is nuts.
Pretty awesome. Never gets old.
No, it really doesn't. No matter how long you work here, it never gets old. So, the first question I have for you here today is, how'd you first get involved in the sports industry?
Yeah, I mean, I think like a lot of people who love sports, that's why you want to get into it, but you don't really know what that entails necessarily in college. And I was always, one thing that I was really good about was just utilizing my network. You know, in college, that could be, you know, your parents, and then your parents' friends, and my uncle and his friend, and my friend's parent, you know, whoever it was. I was always trying to have conversations with people about, you know, who might be associated with the sports industry. And that's how I got my first internship with my friend's mom, who worked at Dave & Buster's. And she knew people all over the entertainment industry and sports. So she sent a big email out, and I got connected for an internship with the indoor soccer team. For this job, I spoke with one of the few guys I actually knew that was in the sports industry. It was my uncle's best buddy, his son. So I would call him in college and just ask him a few questions about, like, you know, what should I be doing? Like, what does he do? Like, how can I get into the same realm? And I reached out to him when I was graduating, like kind of before that. And was like, hey, it's coming up. Like, what do you recommend I do? Like, who's hiring? Where should I start? I've been on Teamwork Online. That's not really getting me anywhere, as you probably know about that.
Yeah.
So that's when he brought up Legends. And I'd never heard of Legends. I thought he was talking about the basketball team, the Texas Legends that's here in town. And so he had worked there before, knew that they were hiring. He was still connected with the hiring manager. And so I set up a call with her, and then the rest was history from there.
It's funny that you say too that you never heard of Legends, because my call with Hannah Rich they had last summer, the last interview I had here, great interview by the way. She told me about Legends on our first call, and I was like, Legends? What is this? I looked it up, and the results that popped up were Texas Legends. I'm like, shit, you know about a baseball team? I'm like, what is and then I learned more about Legends hospitality through the training camp, and I was like, wow, this company is actually legit.
Yeah.
And then like Learfield, another company.
Yeah.
I had no idea it even existed until I
These are
started
background companies. You know, they're doing work for the clients that you know, but they're not taking public credit or identifying themselves when they're talking to clients. You know?
And they actually pride themselves on that. Like that's something that was again mentioned in the Legends training, was we pride ourselves in just sticking into the background, doing all of the nuanced work behind the scenes that nobody sees.
Definitely.
And so that game day flows smoothly, and the hospitality is optimized in any venue that they occupy, but they don't take credit for anything.
It's called white label.
White label. They just go into the background. So like it's great for them, like image-wise. You know, like they're just the kind of people that fix the fires that nobody sees. But for people trying to get into the sports industry, it's kind of like, well, how do I get involved? There are so many opportunities out there, but you may not be aware of them. So thank you for mentioning Legends.
Yeah.
For people that don't know or are trying to get involved in the sports industry, there's properties literally everywhere. I mean, there's almost 200, I think, at this point. So
all over the world now.
All over the world. So when you were first, because you started the way that we all did as an account executive, you worked your way upstairs with the Cowboys and premium sales, and now you're our sales manager back in the bullpen now, doing a great job. But you've said often when you first started as a salesperson, as an account executive in our position, You were a little bit nervous on the phone. It took you a while to get into a groove. How did you build confidence on the phone?
Yeah, I think it was a mix. You know, when I first started, just the thought of picking up the phone and just cold calling someone was very strange to me. It was a foreign concept, so that took a little bit of time. But then I always had an ability to talk with people. I think it was when I learned the process of what's the ultimate goal of the call, like what am I trying to do, and I can mix in the rapport phase with that. I think that's when things really picked up in group sales, and just being able to, you know, really shoot the crap with someone and get them to like you and have a good conversation and then drive the conversation forward. That, I think, when I first started with Legends, that's what helped me. And then also, I've told you this a bunch, recording myself on the phone to actually know what I sound like.
Yeah.
Because before that, you can't really keep track of the way that you sound unless you go back and listen to it. I heard some things I did not like at all.
Well, it's like it's almost like watching film, right? Like if you're a quarterback, you know, you could be sitting back there in the pocket and make a pass that you think looks good, but then you watch it like, wow, the mechanics suck.
Yeah, you
like,
can't hide from it. You can't hide from the recording.
And there's sometimes I'm sure. I mean, Luke, who's recording me right here, his desk is directly adjacent to mine. He probably hears me say some things on the phone sometimes. He's like, what was that? Never use that line again. I think I just dropped one this morning. I mean, it happens, but you know, you kind of watching yourself over. It's like watching film. You kind of polish up those mistakes and for them happening again.
You got to keep dropping those one-liners.
The one-liners. What? Oh God, what was?
Hotcakes.
What was my? No, that ain't. I gotta give credit to Enzo Cuenca for that one. That's all right. He drops that one and the cherry on top. He's like, this will be the cherry on top of your game day experience. Like that's
next level.
Those are next level taglines for a call. I mean, that's absolutely hilarious. But yeah, you know, you just go back and listen to yourself and polish.
Yeah, I mean, there was, you know, I think a big thing that I've also talked to you guys about is just the tone. Like when you're talking to someone, if you don't sound confident in what you're saying, then like the message isn't going to get across. So I think, you know, speaking more like I did, one of my former bosses, Jacob Stone, he told me one time when he was listening on calls, he was like, hey, you need to talk to them like you're talking, like we're talking right now. Like when you have fire and you're, you know, maybe not arguing, but you know, you're trying to drive a point across here in the office. Talk with people that you're on the phone with like that. And you know, it's one of those things I didn't even realize I wasn't doing at the time.
Yeah.
And so you got to record and listen and be like, okay, I need to you need to have the fire on the calls, and that can get away from you. And if you're not confident in what you're selling or just in your ability when you first start, it's hard to get that out. So when I started doing that, it made a significant difference.
Well, you can also get nervous too. I mean, especially when you're new. Like that was something that I noticed when I was new, was just nervous on the phone. So you can't really be yourself.
Yeah.
Now recently, I've been like cracking jokes and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it just makes it that much more fun. Like just talking to them like people, because they are like it's builds that rapport, makes it easier to relate to them, and then you get those sales because they trust you.
You got to cut loose, and you have to keep doing it over and over again until you're just comfortable with it.
Oh, absolutely. No, it's a repetition thing. It's about getting those reps in, but you get them in enough, you get enough consistency with that, and you naturally just get better. Outbound is important. So something else I want to touch on here, more on the leadership side of things.
Yeah.
Since you're a manager now, you know, one thing that I notice as like one of your subordinates, I would say, is that you've got a good balance between knowing when to be serious and knowing when to have fun, maintaining a sense of integrity, but then also like being there for us as a friend and a supporter as well. How would you characterize yourself as a leader, and how do you curate your approach when it comes to that?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. That's one of the harder parts is, you know, I think I lean more towards the Michael Scott manager than than the Charles Minor for the Office fans.
I hope I'm not Dwight Schrute. That's all.
You might be a leading candidate. I don't know.
Damn it. Yes.
But yeah, I mean, I think that's something. I think naturally, my thought is like, you know, I can be your guys' friend, but first and foremost, I have to be your boss.
Yeah.
So if there's situations that need to be addressed, or, you know, we're having a little too much fun in the office and we need to turn it on, like, you just have to be vocal about those things. You can't be afraid to, you know, hurt some feelings. And in the end, if I was your guys' friends at all times and not, you know, correcting you on things or tighten things up in there, then, you know, I wouldn't have any respect from the team, you know, if we were just messing around all the time. But there's a balance. If I was just coming in to crack the whip and not, you know, hanging out with you guys or joking around in the office every once in a while, then it almost might have an opposite effect where you guys, it's not as good a fun place to work and people aren't jazzed up to come in and do that kind of stuff. So.
Well, I've kind of seen both in my working experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the guy that's a little bit too fun, the office can be a little bit too laid back, and then the day ends. It's like, well, what did I do today?
What did we do? Yeah.
What did we accomplish? But
Yeah.
then the strong disciplinarians, like the resentment builds after a while. So
Yeah.
I think you've kind of found that sweet spot where you can relate to us, but then at the same time, knowing to get that message across to step it up. I mean, especially now at this time of season, it's huge.
Busy.
Because for y'all that are just getting into the industry, like this time of year for NFL sales teams, it's crazy. Like at a venue like this, you got schools coming in, you got game days, a whole bunch of stuff. You got Deck a Day, which is huge.
We've got a bunch of theme days. We have
sports business panel.
Yeah, and you have to capitalize on the game days while you have them.
Yeah.
And if we're not moving quick now, then the time passes and you lose your opportunity, and then that's, you know, tons of revenue that could have been brought in for yourself individually, but also the team, for us to hit our goals. So, you know, these are the times where it's like we're gonna have fun because what we're doing is fun.
Yeah.
But we got to get after it and crack the whip a little bit, you know.
Oh yeah, between like September and December, like you got to be.
It's a time.
You got to be laser focused when you're in the office. It's one of those seasons. The seasons are different. Like summer was a lot more laid back.
It was. We had all the time in the world. You know, there was still a lot to do, but there wasn't these strict deadlines that we have now. And it's like, hey, if we're not pushing now, then it's too late. We lose.
You lose the revenue. It's less for yourself, less for the company. So you got to capitalize now. Mm-hmm. So you're a Sooner.
Oh yeah.
Big Oklahoma Sooner, Boomer.
That's
Love
right.
it. Boomer Sooner.
Sad time right now, but
it is a very sad time. I was on y'all side this against Texas. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Then that was unfortunate what happened, but you know, injuries do crazy things.
It does.
So they will be back. Oklahoma, they'll always be back. But during your time there in Norman, what sports experience did you have, and how did you use that time to prepare yourself to where you are now?
Yeah, so I was a part of the sport management program, and I was also a part of the club as well. And the program was good. You know, I'd say it was good, not great. I think after working in the industry and having experience in what I'm doing now, that, you know, I'd love to honestly talk to them about maybe implementing some different strategies and classes and course subjects that would be more applicable to actual workforce, you know? So I think it was a good overall broad intro. And it was entertaining, but the club itself, the club was good because they would bring in speakers and people that were in the industry to talk, which I think was even more beneficial. But the main thing, you know, when you're in college, certain programs that you go to are going to be better than others, especially with sport management, or sport business. Like, some of them are more advanced and they really are practical, and they have good people that you're talking with that have been in the sports industry, and then others might be a little more novice. So the main thing is, like, it's in your control to take advantage of the resources there, And if you don't have those resources, then you've got to do your own networking.
Yeah,
and you have to lean on everyone that you possibly can to get connected, whether it's within that university's department, athletic department, whether it's with loose connections that you've found on LinkedIn, doing your own reach outs, but having as many conversations as possible, kind of like you did with Hannah.
Oh yeah.
That was your in. And then you got introduced to Legends and the training camp that you got a part of, and you got connected with me there.
Yeah.
You made your own magic, So I think my biggest advice is, like, whether you're at a program that's more advanced on the sports side or one that was maybe a little more novice, like when I was there, because it just became a major during my time in maybe sophomore, junior year. So you just have to take networking into your own hands, and the more outreach that you're doing, getting on LinkedIn, sending messages, making calls, utilizing the network that you have, whether it's parents, friends, parents, whoever it might be, you've got to put out a lot of feelers and try to have as many conversations as possible, and then take matters into your own hands.
Yeah, because I mean, there are, like, Alabama is the same exact way. Like, there's great leadership in that program right now, but it's still in, like, its primitive stage to where, like, it's getting started. Like, I had a similar story. Like, when I was in grad school, it was the first year that the sport management major was introduced at the undergraduate level.
Yeah.
So if I was going back to school, how to do it all over again, there's a chance I would have done that major. Maybe. Not sure. I maybe would have done it. Now it's like, well, I'm walking the stage in a couple months, so.
In the end, like, the major's not going to be as important for this industry.
Yeah.
You could do sport management, you could do communication, you could do business, whatever it is. Like, it's really going to be up to you and the story that you're painting when you're talking to hiring managers.
Oh, yeah.
What are you interested in? Why are you going to be a good fit? Can you show in some capacity that you have good work ethic? If you're just telling people that you just love sports and want to get into the sports industry, that's not really separating yourself from other people. But if you can have some sort of direction, people are going to appreciate that, and you're going to stand out a little bit more. And so to have some direction, though, you got to talk to people and kind of understand what's out there. And if it is sales, like, what are the opportunities? What does that look like? What does it take to be good at that? And then gathering your story so that you can talk to someone about it and paint the picture for them why you're a good fit.
Well, I love the fact that you just touched on that, because it's so important when selling yourself to tell that story the right way, to paint the picture that's not only going to be appealing to hiring managers, but is an accurate portrayal of yourself.
Yeah.
And so, with that being said, with you being, like, you're a sales manager, but you're a hiring manager in a way, because you're making the decision at the end of the day who comes into the office and who doesn't. When it comes to candidates, like, what are a few things that are like, this is a good trait,
Sure,
and a few things that are like, oh, this could be a red flag?
Yeah, I think when you talk to so many people that are candidates coming in, it's easier to sort of separate different categories when you're talking to so many people one after another, because it's like, all right, this person sounds better than this person, and so forth. But I think right away, like on a phone call, someone who can, and it sounds obvious or funny, but someone who can speak clearly and just they have a good vocabulary, they're concise with their wording, they're not maybe over talking. Someone that keeps the conversation going, asks questions, those are always good signs. If we have some rapport right off the bat, like, that's when you're having a sales call, you're going to have to build some rapport. So the people that can just naturally do that, that's going to be a big step forward. Okay, so that's one. I always try to and it's not always easy, but trying to uncover, do I think this person has a good work ethic? Because in the end, that's the most important part in sales. Like, if you're a grinder, you can do a good job just with that trait alone, even if you're not great with the other stuff. You can learn a lot of the other things. So to do that, I ask about, what are they typically doing? What are they doing in school? What are they studying? What do you have you had any job, any work experience? Tell me about, do you play any sports? Things like that. And you can sort of get a feel just by the way that they're talking about certain things and their interests and things like that, if they have that work ethic. It's not foolproof, but you've got to try to find out as much as you can. But if someone is, personable, speaking clearly, has the vocabulary, and they seem to have the intelligence / work ethic to go with it, then that's right there enough for me to bring them out to the stadium or to meet them in person, because you can't rely always on one phone call. I think meeting someone in person is very important, because you can maybe get lucky on a call or whatever, but in person that'll be a game changer, and how they conduct themselves in person. How do they interact with the team? Because I bring people in all the time to meet you guys.
Yeah.
How do they interact with you? Are they asking you questions? Are they interested in what you're doing? Can they communicate who they are, where they're from, what they do in an effective manner? I'm monitoring all these things just to see, every interaction counts. Sometimes we'll bring people to lunch. How do they interact with us at lunch? Can they go a full hour and, not make it weird? That's a big deal.
It's so important. Just like not making it awkward. Like if you're somebody that's gonna kill the vibe, then you can't.
You gotta throw people into certain situations, and it's nothing crazy, but just can you hold a conversation with people? And if you can't do that, then it's gonna be tough to get a sales job at this level.
Oh yeah, and it sounds kind of elementary at the surface, right? It's like, oh, this is the kind of thing we've been dealing with our whole lives, like socially, passing the vibe check. But that's honestly really, sales, a lot of different occupations, like marketing, communications, whatever. Like do you pass the vibe check of the office? That's
a big part of it. It really is.
So for those that are trying to break into the industry, it's really important to, as crazy as it sounds, focus on being likable, communicating in a way that's effective, right? It's huge.
Another thing is there's a lot of people that are trying to get in the sports industry, and they don't really know what that means, which is okay.
Yeah.
But there's a counterpart of mine over with the Stars, Lance K. He will always ask, when he's on the phone with someone, are you interested in this job because you like sports or because you want to sell? And if they just go with the option of, oh, I love sports, then he typically goes another direction. But if they tell him, I want to sell, that's why I'm interested in this. I also like sports, which is why I'm pursuing these opportunities, but selling is my main focus. That is going to be more important, because people who are just like, yeah, I'll do anything. I'll be, I'll mop the floor, I'll do marketing, I'll do sales, I'll do accounting. It's like, well, you just maybe, are you getting in for the wrong reasons or what? So
yeah, no, and especially like sports is like it's what you consider like a glamorous industry. Like everybody wants to be a part of it. It's like that's part of what's going to separate you is. Are you here for the fundamental part of it, or are you here just to say you work for the Cowboys, or just to say you work for the Mavericks? Because
exactly,
sometimes that's the ambition, and if that's it, that's probably not going to be the best fit.
And then those people who, if we schedule a call, which usually the calls are scheduled, the ones who do their research ahead of time, have some questions, and have a little bit of direction, that stands out as well.
That's key. I will say, not to pat myself on the back or anything, but when I was doing those calls last year, I would research the person. I'd go onto their everything's on LinkedIn. Everything about somebody is on their LinkedIn. All the talking points, where they went to college, past experience, how did that go for you? What was your journey to where you are now? And even when I was interviewing everybody in the office back in March to get the job with y'all, I looked up each person that was interviewing me in the office. I looked up their college, had that written down on a sheet, a couple facts about them, and then used that to kind of navigate the conversation. And just having it literally takes 3 to 5 minutes to do, but it will advance you that much further in a call. So one last thing here, I'd say to end the interview here. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Ooh, man, that's a tough one. BG, man.
I pulled that one out of off the dome and just popped in.
Yeah, well, there's the cool thing about Legends is that there's a lot of different paths forward. There's a lot of different projects that keep being built. New stadiums that Legends gets the nod to go ahead and take charge on. So, I have thought of going to a new project at some point, maybe in a director's role on the ticket side. Part of me has thought about going on the sponsorship side of things, and having a balance of, all right, the ticket revenue business, balance that with understanding the partnership side, corporate partnerships, understanding how to sell and manage that side, and then being able to drive revenue from all ends for a sports franchise. That is something that is appealing to me. So, do I see myself in Dallas forever? Possibly, but I think that there's maybe more out there on the horizon with a new project down the line. And I think I'm keeping my options open to that route, and then also even local opportunities to get onto that partnership side or throughout Legends, because you can do, really with Legends, there's so many routes you can go on either end. So the options are open. I didn't give you a straight answer, but I gave you some paths that I'm considering.
Well, it's what you pretty much communicated is that you're always thinking. Which that's what smart people do. You're always, you want to appreciate where you are and give your all when you're there, but you should be evaluating every day, regardless of what position you're in. Like it's important to keep that kind of pace and cadence with yourself.
The next step is for the group sales team to get to $8 million this year.
That is the next step. We're coming down the stretch here, but right now we're on pace.
We're on pace
to surpass where we were last year.
Correct.
Great, amazing team we've got right now. All of them. I can name them all down on a list right now, but just know that all of them in that office, they're bright stars, bright futures, amazing people to work with every day, and we're gonna crush that goal, and everybody will be going to LA when they hit their sales goals too.
Celebrating in Los Angeles.
That's coming.
25.
And it couldn't be done without Nick Ackels right here.
Hey,
thanks for coming on,
Biggs.
This was awesome.
You're the man. You got a bright future in media ahead.
Appreciate you. And I'm striving for that. This is like my second job here, so it's a lot in this season with football and peak season with sales, but it's when all is said and done, it'll all be so worth it.
Come on.
Thank you, Nick. Appreciate you coming on.
You bet.
Thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate you and the time that you took out of your day to watch the video. And if you enjoyed it, please be sure to like the video and share it, as well as subscribe to The Era. The more likes and subscribers I get on this channel, the more resources I can attain, and the more resources I can attain, the more value I can provide to you, the viewer. And that is how I show my appreciation for you for the time that you devote to watching my videos. So thank you so much, and have a great day.